RZ. My name's Stan, and welcome to a new year, and welcome to the name of my new show. And the name of the new show is The Grind. And that was referred to me by several of my subscribers. So, hey, why don't you call your show The Grind? You're always grinding something. And I don't know how I ended up in this category or how I got stuffed into that pigeonhole, but I am now officially known as the grinding guy. So I could either embrace the horror and just go with it, or I could just, fight it as much as I can. So not being one to make waves, we're going to call our show The Grind. So welcome to The Grind, number 35. We're continuing with our week updates. Last one was 34 last year. This is The Grind number 35. So we're just going to keep on going with the numbers, just change the name of the show. So, welcome to the new year and welcome to The Grind number 35. What we're going to start with this week is some stuff that got sent in. The first piece came to me from Jim Baumgarten. He's kind of a friend of mine online. And he said, hey, I got a height gauge, not a height, but a height gauge I want to send you. It needs to be cleaned up, and here it is. It's already all cleaned up, and when I got it, it was covered in paint. It's like paint had been splattered all over it, and it was horrible. And the bottom had been dropped and had a big nick out of the corner. I cleaned up the bottom on the surface grinder. I actually took the beams out of it and reground the base and got it nice and flat. And the crystal was broken, and here we've got a new crystal in it. And I'm not pulling your leg, there's really a crystal in there. It's nice and clean. And here's the old one. Looked like someone was using it as a hammer, maybe to close up the paint can lids after they spilled paint all over it. I don't know. But it came in with that crystal busted, and that kind of bugged me. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to try to make my own. Didn't know whether I could or not, but let's go over to the lathe and show you how I made a crystal. Okay, I thought I'd lay that little tip on you on how to make yourself a crystal. This one's domed. I don't have any really good way to make them domed. After we talk about how I cut the round, maybe we'll talk about another way that we could possibly make a domed crystal. But what we're going to use is a welding screen. It's pretty flexible. It's got protective film on both sides, and it machines nice. These are available at any welding supply store. These are just replacement screens for your welding hood. And what I've done here is I've chucked up just an odd piece of Delrin. Don't really care what it is, as long as I've got a little flat spot that I can work with. Get it chucked up, get it faced. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece that we want to duplicate, and we're going to put a bias in our set of dial calipers here. And I've already done this, so it should zero out right on our, yep, which it does, right there. And checking in a couple spots, make sure you're going to hit your target. All right, so I'm pretty happy there that I've got it where I want it. And my calipers are ready, and I've got a bias set in there. So when I zero out, I should be on size. Now take your sample and your new material and go ahead and cut it rough. Cut it outside the lines. You could use scissors or a bandsaw, whatever. Now we need to get this up against the pallet and pinned in. And what I use for that is another little piece of Teflon. This is a little piece of Delrin. It's a Delrin round. It's been faced on both sides, so it's parallel. And I've got a little center hole in here. And I'm just going to take. I'm not going to actually do the cutting because I've already made it. I'm just showing you the setup. We're going to bring our center in, and we're able to move our material around here until we get it where we like it, and just tighten our tailstock a little bit until we pinned in our material and lock our tailstock. Now we're ready to cut. Now obviously I haven't trimmed off all this excess here, but now you can very accurately cut your material, and you can get in here and make your measurements, with your dial calipers until you've hit your size. This works for gauge crystals, as well as just like pressure gauges and things like that if you do need to make a new protective crystal. Or it will work for dial calipers as well, or dial indicators, I'm sorry. Let's talk about doming it. Now, if we thought we could heat this material with a heat gun and put the dome in it initially, and then cut a dome in our Delrin to match, and put our piece on there with the dome already on it, I think we could probably do it. I didn't do it in this case. The flat crystal worked fine and didn't interfere with the needle on the dial indicator. So, but I think doming your own crystal is entirely possible, and then cutting it to size. But this is a good method for making your cuts and getting a crystal exactly the size you need it. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the tip. Okay, well that was pretty easy. That does not address the dome. You can see the dome on that. That doesn't address the dish. If you need that dish to clear your needle or your center spindle of your gauge, it doesn't address that. But I had some thoughts on maybe using a heat gun and forming it and making a formed pallet for it to sit on the lathe out of the Delrin. If you curve that and then heat this and kind of press it in there to hold the curvature and then make your cut, I think you could actually make a curved bezel or a curved crystal to fit your bezel yourself. But making a flat one, no big deal. So hope you enjoyed that little segment. And Jim, thank you for the height gauge. I took it apart, cleaned it, oiled it. It works perfectly. Very nice unit. I didn't have a double beam, and I didn't have one with an actual indicator on it. All I've got is a veneer that I use. I got this 18-inch veneer that I like a lot. I'm going to still keep using both of them. But thank you for that, Jim. Next up, finally got a new truck right before Christmas. Some of you guys know my old Dodge, 340,000 miles, original motor. That's a V10 gas, 8 liter, in my old 2001, and that thing is just a towing machine. It'll pass everything but a gas station. It tows wonderfully, and it still does. I still love that truck. But I just picked this up right before Christmas. Okay, so I got an 07. It's not a brand new truck. It's an 07, which I'm told that was the last year of the good diesels before they went to all the California emissions and things like that, the emission control systems on it, and all the regen modes. This one does not have a regen mode, and I don't have to put the muffler oil down the pipe. I don't have 2 tanks on it to hold muffler oil, so it doesn't have a regen or anything like that. That is a 5.9 turbo diesel, intercooled, and I did my first road trip on it just the other day. Gas mileage is impressive. I changed the oil right before I left, and by the time I got back, and this is a question for all you diesel guys, that oil was black. And I checked it with a viscosity cup. I actually drained some off, and I checked it with a viscosity cup because I was thinking maybe I was getting some cross-contamination of the fuel into the oil, and the oil level hadn't come up. Like you'd be introducing diesel fuel into the oiling system. The oil level was a constant, but the oil was very black. There was no material in it. I ran magnets and stuff through it looking for metal particles. Nothing. But does the oil always get that dirty that quick on a diesel? That was incredible. Love to hear your comments down below. Not used to that. I've been running gas motors forever. This is my first diesel. But I'll tell you, that Cummins 5.9, wow, that thing, For some of you that know some of the grades around California, I climbed the Grapevine last night. Oh, about half throttle, and I was motoring up that thing about 80 miles an hour, half throttle, into the boost all the way up. The turbine was spinning all the way up, and I was just running empty, but I can't wait to tow something with it. The power on that thing is unbelievable. All right, well, finally got a new truck. A lot of guys sent me a lot of suggestions, and I sure appreciate it. But I finally got myself a new truck. Next up, I got another viewer mail that came in. He sent this into the show. This is from Mark Amundsen from Long Island, the right coast. And he writes, "Hey Stan, saw some videos on your surface grinder. I bought a B&S, which is Boyer Schultz, 612 basket case that is missing the guard casting. So to help you keep the patina of your B&S period correct, here's a cover that may fit. If not, pass it on. I plan on buying a commercial 8-inch aluminum pot off eBay that will work nice with a little work. Signed, Mark Amundsen, Long Island." And so he sent this in. And this, some of you may remember, I actually had to make one for my Boyer when it came in. Mine was missing when it came in. So there's one with a very nice patina with the right paint and everything. Let's go over to the surface grinder and check it, see if it fits. All right, well, let's try Mark's wheel guard. I've got my homemader on here. All right, Mark, let's see if this thing's gonna go. There's mine, and there's the holes I created. I just did that with a Dremel and a tiny little carbide. And there's the factory ones there. So I wasn't far off. I was doing it off of the internet pictures. Some pictures I found on the internet. That's the only thing I had to go off of. And this one's got a pretty cool little latch here that actually latches on just one of the pins. This thing has a pin at 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. Just little 1/8-inch pins. But let's see how this one fits. Oh! This must have come off a plain 612, not a 612 Deluxe. The 612 Deluxe has a larger housing with a dust collector. So, not gonna fit. Looks like our friend Mr. A-Bomb, when he was doing his sticker frenzy in my shop, has got a reprieve. So there you go. That's gotta stay. So if anyone's got a 612 standard and you need a wheel guard, you probably ought to shoot me an email. Wheel guards are important. I'll show you why. Here's a gentle reminder. I was cutting a 60 thousandths groove. I had a wheel dressed down to 60 thousandths thick. This was the thickness of my wheel right there. Right out on the tip, I had it dressed down like a knife edge, about a 1/4 inch of the circumference of the wheel. Had it thinned down to 60 thousandths, and I was cutting little 60 thousandths grooves, and the wheel came apart on me right around the perimeter. So it happens, and anything you can do to stop that from scattering is a good thing. Safety glasses are mandatory because stuff like this happens very frequently. Okay, guys, that's the end of this segment. Shoot me an email if anyone's in need of something like this. Okay, so sadly, it doesn't fit. So I'm going to have to be flying the A-Bomb stickered, homemade wheel guard for a little while longer. But Mark, I sure appreciate you sending that into the show. If anybody out there has a Boyer Schultz 612 that would take this smaller wheel guard, actually, I'll insert a picture of it here with the tape measure across it, so you know what it is outside to outside. If anyone's missing one of these, I need a picture of your machine, email to me, and I'll get this in the mail to you. And this will be courtesy of Mark Amundsen. All right. Next up, we're gonna shoot a little video. I haven't shot it yet, but my friend Mr. Tom Lipton touched on a subject a little bit the other day about cosine error. and that would be the stylus angle of on your gauges here. What angle to run them at? Obviously you want to run them as flat as possible to the work, but how much is too much, and how much does it take to really throw them off, and how linear is it, and how far is it really off? The farther you measure, the farther off it's going to be, and things like that. So let's zoom in on the surface plate, and I'm going to shoot some video here right after I'm done here, and we're going to use some gauge blocks. And we'll go through with like a 101, a 102, a 103, and just start switching gauge blocks and watch the errors stack up as we keep going on it. And we'll go all the way to the limits of a tenths gauge, which is that's a 404 gauge, so it's 8 thousandths total gauge movement. So we can see quite a bit on those gauges. So we can check it over at 8 thousandths range and see, just how far off, we're going to get with different angles of the stylus. We're going to start off flat, and maybe get about 45, and then do something crazy like way down to 60 or something. But let's do some tests and see how cosine error really affects us when you're measuring, not doing just comparative work, actually measuring. All right, so let's go check that out.
Okay, I've got my indicator set. The body of the indicator, the bottom of the body is set at 45 degrees. I've got my stylus at the angle that I typically use. So we're going to take some measurements, starting with some gauge blocks here. And I'm pretty sure the GoPro can see them. But I've got a 1/10, which is a 0.100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and then I've got a 108, which should take me around a full scale. And I've already, let's see if it needs any adjustment. We're going to start off with the tenth here, and I'm going to dial that in. Pardon my arm in the one camera. And we're going to make sure we're happy there. My gauge blocks are clean. I just got done wiping them down on the lint free, getting oil or anything off of them. Okay, so that's our baseline there. And we're going to call that a good 0. So that's 1/10. Now let's take it to our next one here. This is a 101. Just sliding that under there. Okay, so 101. We're spot on. There's a 102. .102, spot on. This is a 103. This one's showing up a little high, about a 1/2 tenth. Let's go with a 104. A little high, about a 1/10. Here is a 105. Same, a little high. And now we're going to squeeze in a 108, and that's my full scale. That should take us all the way back around to 0. And that's going to check our full scale on this thing. Is that a 10? Yeah, it's an 8. Okay. The numbers on those are so tiny. Okay, there's our 108. And again, we're 1/10 and a whisker high. Let's go back and quantify our measurement. and do that with our initial block, which is our 0.100. Make sure we zero out, which we do. So over the full range of the gauge, we gained a tenth in the positive. Let's record those numbers and change our stylus angle. All I'm going to do, I'm going to take the stylus and put it parallel with the body, so my stylus will essentially be at 45 degrees. So let me get that set up, and we'll try that. Okay, I've got my gauge set up now, parallel with the body. And as you see, I've got that ridiculous angle right there. And I'm just going to check this little turkey here and make sure we're going to zero out. All right, I'm pretty happy there, and we're zeroed in on a 100 thousandths gauge block. And I'm going to take that 100 out, and now we're going to take in our 101. All right, so now we see our error is 2.5 tenths. So I'm going to record this as we go. So that's at 1,000th, we've got an error of plus 0.00025. Okay, I'm recording these as I go. We'll look at the chart I'm making here in a second. Let's sneak this guy out of here. And we're going to go for a 102. All right, so that's 6/10 above. So that's in the positive, 0.00060. Sneak that out of there. Bring in a 103. Right there, we're almost a full thousandth off. I'd call that 95. So that's in the positive, 0.00095. Yeah, we've almost got a full thousandth there. We're going to go to a 104. All right, we just exceeded 104 by, that's about 1.2. So that's a plus 0.0012. Yeah, that was supposed to be a 104. We should be on the 4. So we're coming out of there. And here's a 105. So that was 4, 5. We should be on the 3 right now. So we're almost a thou and a half. I'd say, yep. So that's going to be expressed as positive 0.0015. Get this little fella out of here. All right, and now we're going to go full scale. This is my 108 block. So that's full scale plus 2.4. So it's going to be expressed as positive 0.0024. All right, and that's at 45 degrees. Let's try a lesser angle. I'm going to set it up, I don't know, maybe let's split that. Let's get in the 22.5 degree range somewhere and see if we get an acceptable amount of error, because this is kind of huge. So let's decrease that angle down to about 22.5 degrees. Okay, stylus is set for 22.5 degrees. Again, using the protractor. I'm just using the rear beam as a reference. I'm going to zero up on 100 thousandths, which I've already done some of the preliminary. And I got to try to see around the GoPro here. I got it down pretty tight. All right, I'm pretty happy there. a little low. All right, we're happy there. All right, so that's our baseline. That's 0. Let's get this guy out of here. Bring over the 101. Okay, so it's almost a tenth high. And we'll call that a half a tenth. So at 1, we're positive 0.00005. So that's a half a tenth. All right, let's get the 101 out of here. Coming in with 102. All right, that's a solid tenth. Almost 2 tenths. So at 2 thousandths, we're measuring positive 0.000. Excuse me. 102. So it's 0.0002. Let me erase that. All right. Okay, out of here. 3. We're looking at 3 tenths. In the positive, 0.0003. Four. That's 3.5 tenths. 0.00035. There's 5 thousandths. Looking at a half thou of error, so 5 tenths. And now we're gonna go full scale. Okay, full scale, we're off by 6, looks like 7 tenths. So plus 0.0007. All right, we got those recorded. I still wouldn't call that stylus angle acceptable if if you're actually needing numbers and measuring something. If you're doing just comparative work or just trying to find a high or a low, anything goes. But actually measuring, no. All right, let's decrease. No, I think we're done, because we've done 45, which was way out of whack. We've done 22, which is borderline. I don't know anyone that would really run their stylus at that angle. Always run your needle as flat as you possibly can. I mean, the flatter the better. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this kind of cleared things up. We saw it 3 different ways. All right, well, let's look at the results, and it's actually pretty interesting. I just called this flat, which is my daily driver, and that's the way I usually run it. And it really wasn't flat. It was probably tipped down, maybe 10 degrees. And here's what our actual gauge blocks were. Here's reading 1,000 through 5 thousandths, and then full scale at 8 thousandths. And in here's our error. And all the errors always went into the positive. So from flat to 1 thousandth, no error. 2 thousandths, no error. 3 thousandths, half a tenth, up to 5 thousandths, 1 tenth, 8 thousandths, 1 tenth. That's what my gauge is, a daily driver. 45, which was an extreme angle. We came right out of the gate with 2 tenths, 6 tenths, 9 tenths, 1 thou and a half, all the way up to full scale at 2.4. So 2 thousandths and 4 tenths in the positive. So 45, bad when you're measuring. 22.5 degree stylus angle. Total error came in at 7/10, and we came right out of the gate with half a tenth, up to 2/10, 3/10, 3.5, 5, and 7. So those are all the numbers, and that's going to give you an idea of how cosine error and your stylus angle affects actual measuring. Not comparative work and not doing rough work, just trying to find a high or a low. Actual measuring apart. All right, hope that helps you. Thanks for watching.
Okay, well, that was interesting. That was challenging to shoot. There was a lot of zoom in and close-ups and glare and stuff going on there. But that was an interesting little segment on cosine error. And thanks, Tom Lipton, for kind of instigating that, the beginnings of that. It's always interesting for someone to touch on something and pose a question, and then you take it back in your shop and do your own tests and see if it's the same for you and how it works out. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the first episode of The Grind, number 35. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.